Your closures are by far the most important factor when it comes to scaling your sales team, and they might be killing deals without you knowing it. Because listen, if you're not listening to their calls, you're not tracking their metrics, or even auditing their follow-ups, well, you might be paying somebody to lose money, and that is obviously not ideal. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to spot those weak spots specifically, and also those weak links in your sales team, and how to fix and overcome those problems. So most sales problems are actually closer problems, right? We hear this all the time as business owners and founders, right? Especially from the weak links or the closers that are, at the bottom tier of your team. We'll constantly hear stuff like, oh, well, the leads quality is low, right? Or we're selling, hamburgers to vegans, right? I've heard that one a couple times before. Or the offer isn't necessarily dialed in, right? Or perhaps it's a seasonal thing. Well, if you're not tracking your data correctly, it's very hard for you to pinpoint these things. But 9 times out of 10 in our experience here at Sales Match, it is the representative himself, the closer, him or her, right? And generally they try to go back and forth and blame it on marketing, and it's this never ending kind of stream between, oh, it's the lead quality, and then the marketing team will validate, no, the leads are quite there, it's actually a closer problem. And I can tell you throughout my experience with working with founders and through my own experience through my businesses, 9 times out of 10, it is actually the closer who just naturally sucks at what they're doing, right? So here are a couple of warning signs, or 3 warning signs to look out for reps that are actually killing your deals. And basically here are some things to note, and when you see these things, please be alarmed and hop on this immediately. The first thing is they talk too much, right? And I'm going to prefix this by saying a great software to use is Fathom. Fathom is an AI software that records all of your call recordings. They give you transcripts. They even have sales metrics in there, so you can see exactly when you are on a call. It will show you your talk time. So if you do not use Fathom currently in your sales team, download those software. I'm not sure how much it costs. I'm not linking anything here. I use Fathom personally, and I've used them for years. Not affiliated with them, but a great software to use if you want to start tracking talk time and stuff like that, right? And then within that software, you can see your different reps and their talk times as well. And what we realized is that our top reps, historically, they do not do much of the talking, right? You want to ask targeted questions as a closer to guide the prospect into the close or exactly where you want them, right? It's a journey, and sales is all about taking your prospect from point A to point B, right? But some things that we've seen in, the bottom half of our reps, and especially with the clients that we work with here, is that reps that are on the bottom half, they do most of the talking, right? They do 80% of the talking, or 80% of the call is them talking, pitching, monologuing, info dumping on that specific prospect, when that is not what you're supposed to do, right? There's no rapport building, no discovery, and no emotional connection. Remember, people only buy things from people they know, like, or trust, right? Once you hop on a call with somebody, they're certainly not going to know you, right? Sure, the marketing could have done a better job, right, at positioning the business in a way that they know the business, but you personally as a closer, they're not going to know you, right? Initially, they are not going to trust you, right? Again, that comes down to marketing to build up that trust prior to the call, but that's a video for another day. But essentially the one pillar that we can rely on is them liking you. Know, like, and trust, right? So your biggest pillar and your easiest pillar is to build rapport and have them like you, right? That's one pillar knocked out. Then the rest of the pillars can follow. But essentially the worst reps, they do not build rapport, right? They do not get somebody to like them on a call, and they don't humanize at the beginning of the call, right? It's so important that once you hop on a call at the beginning, right, you clarify why they're on the call. You humanize, right? Meaning you're showing them that you're not just a robot, you're not just a salesperson, you're not just there to grab their money, right? Salespeople in this day and age have such a wrong or a bad image, I should say, right? Where at the end of the day, what we're doing as salespeople is we are selling a product or service that genuinely helps people, and that is the key there. Your product or service genuinely needs to help people, right? And you need to believe in that and also see the results that your product or service that you are selling are or is helping people, right? That is so, so, so important, because once you are convinced that the product or service can help people, right, and you are fully convinced about that, they are inquiring about your product or service. They are interested in what you have to offer. Hey guys, real quick, if you're looking to change your sales organization for the better and you want us to handle the constant grind of, vetting, interviewing, calling Xboxes, doing mock interviews to find top talent, we can do that struggle or handle that for you. So if you want to click the link down below and book a free consultation call with us, I want to invite you. I personally hop into these calls now and again. Hopefully I get to speak to you personally so we can see what you need, what type of rep you need, the culture fit you need, and exactly the profile you're looking for, and we can go and recruit that talent for you. So if you're interested in us having to go find you setters or closers or MDRs, click the link down below, schedule a free consultation call, and remember, we have nothing to sell you if this does not work out or if this is not a good fit, but at least I can point you in the right direction. So if you're a business that is doing over $20,000 a month in revenue, book a call with us, let's chat and see how we can help you. But other than that, let's get right back to the video. And our job as closers is to take them from point A, where they are interested, to point B, where they are closed and cash is collected, right? Because at the end of the day, we are not salespeople. What we are doing here is we're helping people with a problem that they currently have, and we are positioning ourselves as the solution to that specific problem, right? Now, again, going back and looping back to some of the characteristics here of bad closers, they leave the prospects confused and not convinced, right? They keep talking, keep talking about the product. Remember, people buy on emotions, right? You have to talk about not the product itself, but what the product can do for them. Problem, solution, right? They're coming in with a problem, we're linking them with a solution that we have, and we're selling the vacation. We're not selling the actual product itself, right? Meaning we're selling what the product is going to do for them. How does it look for them? Where are they going to be, right? How our product or service can fit into their, business, right? And how we can help them, right? That's essentially, some of the characteristics that we can touch on that the worst sales reps kind of use, right? The second point, or the second pillar to this is that we've seen is that bad reps do not isolate objections, right? They basically see objections as rejections, right? Objections are not objections are not rejections, right? They're indicators of interest, right? And please remember that, especially if you're watching this as a closer. Once you get an objection your way, because they are coming, right? The close is after the objection phase. You have to get through those objections to get to the close. So once you hear objections, all that means is it's an indicator of interest. It's getting you one step closer to the actual close, which is super, super important, right? So, some objections that I see the worst reps kind of fumbling is, let me think about it, right? And they'll say, oh, totally fine, I'll follow up. Or, I need to talk to my partner, right? And they say, okay, yeah, no problem. Let me know when you're ready to talk, right? Terrible. We do not do that as closers, right? There's no digging, there's no validation, no reframing, and no closing happening at all. That is not a closer. That is a salesperson, right? A salesperson is a glorified order taker. A closer is actually there to close the freaking deals, right? And get shit done. That is super, super important. Now, reps like these, all they are doing, these bad reps, are they're harvesting leads for your competitors, because your competitors are going to come in because, let's face it, if you have a prospect on the call, they are shopping around. Guess what? They are shopping around at your competitors as well, right? So keep that in mind. Now, the last thing here is that as a founder is You might feel like the whole, sales process is literally just a black box, right? You have no visibility, you have no idea what's happening on sales calls, you cannot see call logs, you're not, using software such as Fathom to track the transcripts, the call logs, the talk time, and so on and so forth. And in addition to that, you're probably not tracking, show up rates, close rates, or more importantly, sales cycle and cash collected, right? Those are very, very, very important metrics that you need to be tracking in order to make decisions that's going to move your business forward and improve your sales process as a whole, right? Now, you need to have full and utter visibility over your sales process, and you need to be tracking down everything, because if you don't, you're leading your sales team while driving a truck without a steering wheel with a mask on, right? You're driving essentially blind, and that is not your position, right? As a sales leader, right? Whether you're in the sales leading position, team itself, or just as a founder, right? If you're still a founder leading your sales team, that is okay. If you're still smaller, if you're doing, under $25,000 a month in revenue, that is okay. But please remember, you need to have these KPIs ready for your sales team, not only for them to review, but for you to make educated decisions. You cannot drive a whole sales team and manage a whole sales team without data. It is so vitally important that you have the right data ready so that you can execute and make the right decisions based on where those KPIs are going, right? Now, you're probably asking and sitting there, well, you've told me all about, what bad reps do. What do some of the good reps look like, or good closers look like in your eyes? And here's what we've specifically seen at Sales Match, right? Elite closers, the top 1% closers, right? Number one, they control the frame without being pushy, right? Salespeople will push. Closers figure out why they're on the call, right? They figure out their pain point, they overcome the objections, right? And they basically paint the whole picture that, what the product or service is going to do for that prospect, right? They don't sell the product or the service itself and keep talking about the product or service. They talk about the solutions, right? Because again, somebody's coming to you with a problem. You have a solution, right? You need to tell them about the solution, what the solution is going to look like, and how that is going to be implemented in their business, right? Another characteristic here is that, and this drives me absolutely insane, a lot of salespeople, right, will follow scripts. I absolutely hate scripts. Here at Sales Match, especially our Sales Match method, we do not teach scripting, right? We teach frameworks, right? Now, what's the difference between a script and a framework, you might ask, right? A script, I'm sure you're familiar, is literally just a script that people read off, and salespeople, once they get objections and they get thrown off the script, that's where they start stumbling and falling, right? Because they do not know what to say next. Why? Because they do not know the framework or the messaging that has to be said. That is super important, right? As a script, if you're reading through a script and you're providing your closers with a script, please understand and make it known to them that the script should be used as a framework, right? Which means read through the script 20,000 times, right? Understand what needs to be said and make it your own. Why? Because one universal script is not going to work across 5 personality types, right? You might have one closer that, now I'm thinking about it, one of my closers that I've had before, he worked for Merrill Lynch and Morgan Stanley for a long period of time, right? For over 20 years in the financial industry, right? They're very cold, very, to the point. They want to get the close done, right? Which is great, but his personality type is not going to have the same sales or he's not going to have the same sales process as somebody that is, perhaps a family guy that's a little bit more, wants to explain everything in full, wants to make sure that the actual prospect is taken care of. Point here is very different personality types. Not all of them are going to work well with a script, but I can guarantee you, if you provide a framework, i.e. what needs to be said, right, on that call, They are all personality types are going to work, right? And that's exactly why we provide all of our closers and setters with frameworks of what needs to be said on that call, right? The messaging, and not just the wording that needs to be said on the call, right? So that is also very, very, very important, right? Now, the next thing that top closers do is that they extract the pain point and the urgency early in the sales call, right? You want to get that information immediately. Clarify why they're on the call, right? Figure out why they're there. Figure out that pain point, right? They booked the call for a specific reason, right? They didn't just randomly book the call because of no reason. There's a reason they're on the call talking to you specifically, and you need to figure out what that reason is so that you can position yourself as the solution to their problem, right? And the only way to do this is to ask it at the beginning of the sales call. You need to clarify why they're on the call, right? And basically figure out what their pain points are, right? Now, another characteristic of top closers is that they actually use looping, the looping method, right? Which we teach here at the Sales Match method, is when you get objection, you just loop back, right? You keep asking for the close. You're asking objective questions to figure out why they are giving you, objections. Oh, I need to talk to my partner. Oh, now is not the right time. Oh, I don't have the money, right? 3 common objections that all industries get. A closer would reframe, right? They would validate, right? And they would basically reframe the questions to extract the real objections, right? So that is vitally important once you're on a call, is that, real closers, they use the looping strategy, they extract the real objections, right? So they can get to business and get to the close, right? The other thing that I've noticed, and some other things that I've noticed in top closers, are that they use tonality very carefully, right? And they love to use silence, right? You are gaining power in your sales calls when you are using silence to your advantage, right? Give them time to talk, right? Before you react, think strategically and then respond, right? Instead of looking like a hyper jitterish, all Adderalled up, or Red Bull, whatever their choice of stimulants are, right? It comes off in the wrong way when you're too hyperactive, you're too childlike. You need to be sharp as a tack and act as a professional. And those are some of the qualities I see in top closers versus the bottom closers, right? And the top closers, more importantly, the closers close the deals on the call, not via email, right? The difference between a salesperson and a closer is a closer can get shit done and close the deal right there and then. A salesperson will keep delaying things, right? And they do not have the cojones, if you know what I'm talking about, to ask for the close. Closers will, shamelessly ask for the close over and over and over again, targeting questions such as, if the lead's name is Francisca. Hey, Francisca, I realize now is not a good time. Based on that, right, when would be a good time for you to move forward here with our business, right? Or what does it take for you to move forward on this call today, right? Shamelessly ask them, because at the end of the day, you have a solution to their problem and they're not seeing it just yet, right? And it's your job as a closer to make them realize what that solution is and to move them and basically guide them in that right direction, right? So you have to remember that closers, they don't just sell. They lead the entire conversation, and that's super, super important, right? Hey guys, just as a quick reminder, if you are looking for elite sales talent such as closers or setters, where you don't have to do the training, the hiring, the vetting, the calling the ex-bosses to see why they got fired, we do all of that for you. So if you're interested in having Sales Match find elite sales talent such as closers or setters on behalf of you, click the link below. Let's schedule a free consultation call. But right now, let's get back to the video.